Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to have you here with us at the 2025 Berlinale. Can you start with a bit of an intro to Honey Bunch? A pretty hard one to introduce, but you're going to...
Yeah.
I don't know how you can describe it.
It's fantastic. How about that?
That's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a story about...
What's it about, Ben? Tell us.
A story about recovery, loss, love, memory loss, disorientation, trust, deception, deception for a greater good.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy a ticket to a film about that. It's fucking great. I've seen it. It's fucking great. Just trust me.
It's a movie about sex.
That's correct.
Sex all the way through.
And I also loved hearing the backstory to, you know, how like both the directors have kind of gone through breakups and we're sort of like thinking about the nature of relationships and how they are they're not, we put sort of finding your soulmate, you know, as kind of the ultimate goal, put that on a pedestal when in fact actually it's kind of an unreachable goal. When you read the script, was it something really different and exciting to take on?
Absolutely, yeah. The script was immediately compelling to me, and Dusty and Maddie, before we read the script, they had me and Grace over and basically walked us through the movie beat for beat.
Wow.
Which was a privilege to just see it unfold before us. And they have
Did they play your parts for you? Were they acting it out?
More or less.
That must
yeah.
have been
Yeah, lip quivering.
I know.
But yeah, no, their vision of love and devotion and commitment to one another was very inspiring and moving to us. Yeah.
And it was almost kind of integral, the fact that you and Grace are also a couple. And did you feel like the four of you were collaborating in a way and sort of creating the characters and maybe, you know, leaning into aspects of each of your various relationships?
In a way, yeah. But my character is again. You can't spoil
I'm going to
anything.
talk about you. Can I talk about
Please
you?
do.
Okay, I think that's bullshit. The thing that you've been saying and they've been saying, because you're both fabulous actors, and certainly I've been in films with people that the relationship, you know, people go, it's amazing chemistry on screen and we didn't like each other at all. And with people I adored and nothing really happens on screen. It's a brilliant story and it's brilliantly told, and you two perform, you know, you dig deep and it's incredibly emotional, but it's not because you're a real life couple, it's because you're really great storytellers, and it would have worked just as well with strangers who were as talented. And it's a nice story that there's a couple directing it and a couple casting it, but I don't think you need that, and I don't know if you did bring that to the screen.
No, I honestly don't know that we did either. I think we were more playing Dusty and Maddie than we were playing me and Grace. It was their marriage or their union that we were channeling more than our own.
India's not my daughter, for instance, and I felt, you know, when they said action, like I loved her and I wanted her to great things for her. I wanted her to recover, and it's what we do. We get to pretend things with all of our heart.
And when you first read the script, you know, what appealed to you about it, and tell us more about your character.
Well, I read the script and it was completely unusual. You know, I get lots of scripts. I'm incredibly lucky. I do get to read lots of scripts, and most of them are a grind to get through. And this one I tore through, desperate to know what happened, and it continued to subvert my expectations. Then it does something that we can't really talk about. It takes a turn and becomes almost an entirely new film at some point. There's a big mystery, obviously, for the first second that the film unfolds. You think, well, something's going on. I don't know what's going on. And me, who's done so many things in the past, things naturally in my own head fall in a slightly linear way into kind of genre packages, and it defied any kind of genre of this. And it was very powerful and emotional, and I was intrigued as a viewer, and then the idea of playing something this powerful, this kind of devotion and obsessive love was intriguing and challenging. But then when I saw what they did with it, I was amazed, because there were whole new layers of ways that they made it both fun and emotional and surprising for the audience, often with music and with editing and with how long they stayed on a shot. That made it, I didn't realize quite how much of a tribute, as it were, or homage or something it was to those great films of the 70s, even before my time, that the Nick Rogue films like Don't Look Now, and Lindsay Anderson films, and even the Ken Russell films. It's a story and storytelling out of its time. It's you know, if stories have become more funneled into genre boxes, they've wound the clock back telling this one.
what I love about, films that lean into the tropes of genre is that they can just get so creative, and there's some really amazing moments, and, using like the house as kind of like a character. What was it like being on set? What were some of the highlights for you?
Well, it was rural Ontario, pretty out of the well-trodden path, and that just created an environment where it was like a little habitat that we all shared, a little nest that we all shared. We kept each other warm out there in the cold of rural Ontario. Yeah.
Not only the set, which is an old house and was owned by someone who was a bit of a hoarder, so it felt out of time.
Bit haunted.
But we also were shooting away from I'm thousands of miles from home, but also away from a city.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we'd shoot and then it would break and you go to the movies at night or you hang out in an urban environment. We all kind of stayed in an imaginative bubble for the whole duration of the shoot. You felt like you'd stepped into a parallel dimension.
It was a bit of an endurance test for that reason. There wasn't a reprieve that you could go and escape, like you said. Kind of had to hunker down in the strange psychological state of this film.
And a very emotional state. It's very, it's powerful emotion. When I was watching it, I step outside now, I was not as an actor, but when I was watching it, I was laughing and crying at the same time, and my third head was going, "Look at you, you're laughing and crying. That's hard to pull off." It's not easy, but it's simpler to just make people scared or to make people do a romance or something. But to be able to straddle all those things together is particularly clever and human of them, I think.
It's a bit of an acrobatic trick, and I remember reading the script, feeling like when it got to the end, feeling those feet touch down on the ground when a gymnast sticks the landing, and just letting an exhale out, and feeling like, wow, I've just watched such wild contortions.
It's had a big experience for a small film.
Yes, absolutely.
And ultimately, how do you want people to feel when they walk out the cinema? A bit like that, and maybe some of those questions swirling in their heads about the nature of relationships or of memory.
I mean, all good stories are both absolutely grip you when you watch them, but then they leave you with something to talk about. And if all good stories are also what ifs, what would I do? What if? This one has a lot and plenty to keep me going well after the credits.
Yeah, hopefully people go home and have a long talk with their partner after they've seen it.
Yeah, would you?
Yeah.
Might you?
Yeah.
Well, that would be terrible. Wouldn't it be wonderful?
And what does it mean to you to have the film here at the Berlinale? It does feel like it's the right home for it, because all the films here, there's always so original, playing with genre, provocative. It seems like the perfect place for it.
I feel like you answered the question. You asked and answered the question.
Thank you.
I mean, it's not journalism school, but you can't be doing that. You took all the good words away. No? I don't know. What's it like? It's great to be at a film festival because there's other filmmakers around. They're generally less commercial filmmakers. They're people who want to make nuanced, interesting, provocative films. And so it's great to get the film out there, but also to get to meet all the other people who like to make similar films.
As a North American, as a Canadian, I just love premiering a film in Europe. It's always the novelty factor is dialed to a 10. It's a great privilege to be here.
Canada's still a separate country, though, right?
Yeah, well,
It depends when this goes. It depends when this gets put online, obviously.
And do you know what each of you are going to be working on next? Have you got the next things lined up?
Yeah, I do, actually. I just drove past the producer of the traffic lights, who told me he had all the money, but he looked like he was on the hunt for money. So hopefully I'm doing a film that starts any minute, but he didn't look that comfy.
We're starting to put out Grace, the lead in this movie. She directed a feature called Dead Lover that we co-wrote and acted in together. We just premiered at Sundance, so we're at the beginning of putting that movie out. And other than that, we're at ground zero of writing something new.
Yeah, I'm on the publicity trail. I forgot. White Lotus just came out, so the junket is this gigantic juggernaut that unrolls for months and months and months all over the place. So.
What was that experience been like so far?
Well, telling a story is exactly the same, whether it's a tiny low-budget film or a gigantic budget thing like that. But the publicity or the release of it is not. It feels like I don't know what. It's bigger than anything I've ever experienced before. Oh, no, it's not that. It's just that it is what it is. I don't even know why it needs publicity, since everyone in the world seems to be watching it anyway. I don't know what there is left to say about it. But
great theme song. God damn.
Well, he's also now it's time.
Right?
Well, he doesn't repeat himself. He's too clever.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
never repeat. And online, some of the comments of people go, "Why isn't he doing exactly the same as last time?" Because he's Mike White. He wouldn't bother doing that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all that with me. Huge congrats on the film.
Thanks very
I really enjoyed presenting it here in Berlin. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.